Howdy, howdy, ho, good morning. Amazon, flash briefing.
Jamie, here's your flash briefing. In NPR News.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. There's a court hearing today in Tennessee for 5 former Memphis police officers charged in the death of black motorist Tyree Nichols. As NPR's Kristen Wright reports, the charges stem from a traffic stop during which video shows Nichols was tased and beaten.
The former officers are charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault and kidnapping, and misconduct. The 5 men have been out on bond. Police body cam and street camera videos showed officers brutally beating Tyree Nichols and first responders not helping the young black man. He died in a hospital 3 days after the traffic stop. The images and videos set off outrage and yet another national conversation on police brutality and race. The officers in court today were part of the Memphis Police Department's crime suppression team, known as the Scorpion Unit, now disbanded. Kristen Wright, NPR News.
The Kentucky Supreme Court has ruled the state's near total ban on abortion will stay in place while a lawsuit proceeds. Abortion has been mostly illegal in Kentucky after the U.S. Supreme Court overturned its Roe decision. Planned Parenthood's Kentucky coordinator, Tamara Leiter, says the law is presenting health challenges to people who get pregnant.
We don't even have exemptions for rape, incest, or fetal anomaly, and there are very narrowly tailored exemptions for life of the mother that are compounding on our maternal mortality numbers here in the state. People are having to leave Kentucky for basic health care.
A Kentucky Republican lawmaker has introduced a bill that would allow abortions to be prosecuted as homicides. Critics say this would allow prosecutors to charge pregnant people for terminating pregnancies. President Biden says he'll soon talk with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Relations between the U.S. and China are very strained after the U.S. shot down a Chinese spy balloon earlier this month. Biden says 3 objects recently shot down over North America are probably not from China. Stocks opened lower this morning as investors worry about the lingering threat of inflation. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial Average slipped about 100 points in early trading.
Repeated warnings from the Federal Reserve that the road back to price stability could be long and bumpy finally appear to be gaining some traction on Wall Street. Investors who had been hoping for a quick reversal from the Fed are beginning to get the message that interest rates may have to stay higher for longer to get prices under control. Investors' newfound caution follows reports showing surprisingly strong consumer spending and higher than expected wholesale prices. Global crude oil prices slumped this week as U.S. inventories of oil grew to their highest level since June of 2021. AAA reports the average price of gasoline nationwide is now $3.42 a gallon. That's about a dime more than a month ago, but a dime less than this time last year.
Try to roll it over in the war, make money off it.
And you're listening to NPR
Cut the
News.
Fed off, man. States take care of
Britain's Prime
states.
Minister has traveled to Northern Ireland.
Boycott
As
sending
Willem
taxes
Marks
to the
reports,
feds.
there have been years of difficult
they'll do the
negotiations
wrong
over the
thing with
future
it.
of Britain's trading
Secede from the
ties
Union.
following the UK's departure from the European Union.
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is in Belfast, the Northern Irish capital, at a time when the local semi-autonomous government has been unable to operate thanks to a boycott from one of its top 2 parties, the Democratic Unionist Party. It's refused to take part in the power-sharing government until its fears about the long-term impact of Brexit are resolved. Meanwhile, his foreign minister is in Brussels with the European Union's executive branch, with meetings focused on resolving the impasse over a key part of the Brexit deal known as the Northern Ireland Protocol,
devastating the waters with chemicals.
to the Republic of Ireland
People
to the
can't
south.
drink their own water.
NPR News, I'm Willem
The
Marks.
mainstream
The
news
U.S.
is
and a
not
study
reporting
from the
on it.
Urban Institute finds that as many as 18 million people
Down the
enrolled
Ohio
in
River into the
Medicaid don't
Mississippi.
know that their eligibility
taking
status
over.
is going to change. A federal provision stopping states from
What
dropping
we're doing in
Medicaid
Syria
recipients'
right now
rolls
and all
will
these other
expire
wars in
April
Ukraine,
1st.
they're backing
Many
Nazis.
people have trouble checking
Just
on their
keep
enrollment
your nose out of
status,
it. Let
such as people
freaking
with
Russia
disabilities,
take care of
those
this
who don't
second
speak
Nazi
English,
regime that
or
you're
even
trying to
people who've
empower.
moved. Los Angeles police say they've arrested a suspect in connection with 2 shootings
In
this
Syria,
week of
there's
2
so many
people
sanctions
outside
right now
local
that you can't get
synagogues.
money to
Local media
aid
say
them
they're in
during this
stable
freaking
condition. The
disaster
shootings are now being
earthquake.
investigated as hate crimes. The suspect
It's
is
just
said to
terrible,
be an
man.
Asian
This
male.
government of ours.
The Los Angeles Police Department
Sanctioning them
says
where they
that it's
can't get
increasing
supplies,
patrols
can't get
around
aid,
Jewish
just like they did
places
to the
of
Native
worship
Americans back in the day.
and
Cut off the
surrounding
food supply, cut
neighborhoods.
off the
I'm Corva Coleman,
medical
NPR
supply,
News
whatever.
in Washington.
For
What's
the
next?
7th year on
Smallpox
the Code
blankets?
Switch podcast, conversations
Freaking
about race and identity
90% of
go
the country
way
now
beyond
is
today's
poor
headlines.
in Syria.
Because we know what's part of every person
I
is
learned all
part
this
of
on
every story.
Redacted. This
We're bringing that
freaking
perspective with
ridiculous,
new episodes every week.
Redacted news.
Listen on the Code Switch podcast from NPR.
Listen to this podcast sponsor-free on Amazon Music with a Prime membership or any podcast app by subscribing to NPR News Now Plus at plus.npr.org. That's plus.npr.org.
In NASA news, NASA and Boeing will host a mission overview media teleconference at 11 a.m. EST Friday, February 17th to provide a status update on the first astronaut flight test of the company's CST-100 Starliner to the International Space Station. Launch is targeted for no earlier than April to the Microgravity Laboratory.
Freaking learned off for that redacted rebel news that
NASA and its international
money
partners have
for
approved
aid
the crew
into
for
Syria
Axiom
to
Space's second
buy
private
equipment
astronaut
and
mission
whatever
to
to
the
dig people
International
out of the
Space
rubble.
Station, Axiom Mission 2, AX-2.
there's so many sanctions imposed, you can't go through the banks, so you
NASA
can't
has
do
awarded
business with
Blue Origin,
Syria.
LLC of Kent, Washington,
So,
task
to
order
get
to
the money
provide
in,
launch service
You have
for
to
the
give it to other
agency's
people
Escape
outside
and
of
Plasma
Syria, and
Acceleration
they have
Dynamics
to bring the
Explorers,
cash
Escapade,
in
mission as part of the agency's venture class
so that they can
acquisition
get
of
the
dedicated
equipment
and rideshare,
and things
VADR,
to dig
launch
people out.
services contract.
And you can only carry like $10,000 cash.
NASA is now seeking procurement
into
ideas
country.
and solutions to encourage innovation from diverse perspectives,
Just
improve reach,
crazy,
reduce
man.
barriers, and ultimately meet and exceed agency goals. In weather. In Seattle, it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit with rain. Today, you can look for
And of
showers,
course, we're
with a
occupying
high of
their
47 degrees and a low of 39 degrees.
all rich
From
side.
NASA,
They can't get gas.
NASA and Boeing will host a mission overview
Hospitals
media
living off
teleconference at 11
12 hours
a.m.
of
EST
electricity.
Friday, February
Can't
17th
afford
to
to run
provide
the
a status
generators
update on the
because there's no
first
gas.
astronaut flight test of the company's CST-100 Starliner to the International Space Station. Launch is targeted for no earlier than April to the Microgravity Laboratory. NASA and its international partners have approved
Thank
the
you,
crew for
Redacted
Axiom
News.
Space's second private astronaut mission to the
We'll find that
International
video and put it in
Space
the link.
Station, Axiom Mission 2, AX-2. NASA has awarded Blue Origin, LLC of Kent, Washington, a task order to provide launch service for the agency's Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamics Explorer, Escapade, mission as part of the agency's venture class acquisition of dedicated and rideshare, VADR, launch services contract. NASA is now seeking procurement ideas and solutions to encourage innovation from diverse perspectives, improve reach, reduce barriers, and ultimately meet and exceed agency goals. That's all for your flash briefing.
Alright, y'all have a good day.